Happy Saturday, wherever you are in the universe. Thank you for watching. If you happen to be coming in live on YouTube, then you are coming in on the original live date, which is Saturday. I want to say it's the 29th. 2025, okay? If you happen to be seeing this later at a later time, either way, thank you for watching. Okay, so if you are familiar with me and you follow me long enough, whether it's here on YouTube, TikTok, then you've had a chance to see that I'm a mixed bag. And so I've been doing content like discussions about movies, shows, all those sorts of things. I've been also doing that for some time in conjunction with, the spiritual stuff, tarot, Reiki, things of that nature. So let me just tell you straight away, if you're looking for something super structured and streamlined and traditional, I promise you, you are on the wrong channel, okay? But everything that I discuss is from the heart. I do not have scripts, okay? I prepare, but I do not have scripts, okay? That makes sense. And so we're going to be discussing humiliation rituals and hypocrisies. Now, I love the sitcom Martin from the 90s, and who doesn't, right? And I just saw 212 on a timer. And this is the episode, No Justice, No Peace, okay? And it's the part of the episode where he goes to court, he gets a ticket, he thinks he's wrongfully accused and all of that, and he pushes it and goes to court and he represents himself and all of that good old stuff, okay? Now, when it gets to the portion, and I'm gonna fast forward here, I don't know if YouTube is gonna take it out or not, but I'm gonna try, okay? So give me a second. I'm gonna fast forward. If I could get to the part of the episode. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Almost there. We're going to talk about something here. Just bear with me. I should have been ready, right? Martin's stupid. He said, so you want to be... Hold up. Let me pause real quick. Martin's stupid. But let me just go over it a little bit. So he's going to put Pamela on the stand as a witness, okay? He puts the mole on the stand. And Pamela, y'all know the relationship between him and Pamela, okay? And so she had an attitude, or she was talking smack. And he was like, first and foremost, he said, that's some very nice looking, natural looking hair you have there, Miss Pamela James. So he clowned her, right? Now here's my thing on it. As I reflect and I look back, I'm like, but his one, she was chicken head and her. I'm just saying, cause you see how they just forget to glaze, they glaze over that part. That whole her hair wasn't real, okay? So in the 90s, you could have weaves and stuff like that in different versions. It wasn't always something long and luxurious necessarily. So Gina's hair, until she got on the latter episodes when she kind of cut it super, super bald and short, with the exception of that, she wore, pieces, to have her little look or whatever, just like Pam did. But for whatever reason, with Pam, it's something that's made to be a joke, right? It's something to humiliate her about. Like his own woman ain't wearing it, okay? Then that was the first thing that I noticed about it. But then, you know, she had something to say about it. She was like, you better watch it before you get slapped. And he was like, you always talking shit. You always talking smart. That's why you ain't got no man. Pause right there. First and foremost, as if, like, what is this having a man means you're happy and you've arrived and you've evolved and you're healthy. You know, since when does that equal that? Okay, that was the next thing I noticed. I'm like, that's why you ain't got no man. Now here is the hypocrisy. His friends went through series of not having no woman. Quite, you know, just to be frank, you know, I think his two best friends didn't really ever have one except for Cole. Eventually got some stability. He had Big Shirley. And then he and then he eventually gets stability, I think at the very end, with a girl that was kind of just like him, but the female version. But was never really clowning them in the same magnitude, not to the same magnitude about not having a woman. Okay. Why is that? Why was it always the highlight of, for most of the whole little thing? Most of the jokes were, I mean, they joked on each other. They clowned on each other, no doubt. So we know that. They said Gina had a big head, Martin had big ears. You know, we know that. But in a different kind of way. In a different kind of way. In this episode, her having a man, what is that about? That's why I ain't got no man. What significance in this context, right? Reminding her what? Now in a public arena, this ain't even just in their little cute little circle hanging out at, you know, his house or whatever. This is in the court of law, in the public. It's the conditioning and the brainwashing. I too have been doing stuff like this in terms of content for some while now, and it's disgusting, y'all. And you know why we don't see it? I'm gonna just tell you. I love Martin. Always have. Always have. And I'll be laughing and grinning. I was clowning last night. Cause it's funny. And see, to me, this is kind of how it goes under the radar. Did y'all also know that those who have narcissistic tendencies have a tendency to do that to the target? But it's called dog whistling too. Because, well, not in this case. Dog whistling is like making a comment that the rest aren't going to really catch, but it is meant the person that is targeted to. That's what dog whistling is. But narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, those who have these kinds of tendencies, they have a tendency, they're notorious for humiliation rituals. They're definitely rooted in hypocrisy, because if you were to, you know what I'm saying, evaluate their lives, you see what I'm saying? So it's definitely hypocrisy. So what they do is attempt to find something that someone is lacking, or what they perceive as lacking, or find an area of tenderness to the target, or what they perceive as what might be an area of tenderness. Okay? So in this case with the Martin episode, you know, he went straight for her hair. He could even start off nice. He brings her up to the stand. First and foremost, she doing his whole ass a favor, right? He couldn't even start it right. Just because he said it nicely, He goes, I would like to bring Miss Pamela James. And as she gets up to walk to the stand because she know Martin. She's waiting at any given moment. She already know Martin. What slick shit is he finna say? What opportunity is he about to take to clown on her? So as he's welcoming her to the stand, his fake politeness, right? Thank you, Ms. Pamela James, for being with us today and for testifying. And I would like to say that is some very natural looking hair that you have on there. That's also those slick under the cuff insults. A compliment is your hair look nice. Your hair look nice today. That's a compliment. Your hair look nice today. Not, I would just like to say that's some very natural looking hair. And we laugh and we think it's cute and funny and we think it's not a big deal, but it is. What is this obsession with needing to insult somebody? Would it have been so hard for him to just be nice? Or not say anything, you know, if he didn't think her hair was nice. But if, you know, would it have been, what was so difficult about saying, Miss Pamela, your hair looks nice today? His fake compliment, I would like to say you have some very natural looking hair there. The world operates like this. Survivors have experienced a whole lot of this in their lives over time. And much like this Martin episode, it's something that's chuckled and laughed at. It's not a big deal. What's the big deal? Don't be so uptight. We all joke around and clown. There's a saying that sometimes there is truth in people's joking around. There is some element of truth. It could be disillusioned, misguided, but in terms of the person, there's an element of truth. What is the obsession of needing to clown and humiliate? And again, I want to differentiate between good fun humor, good, clean and fun, lighthearted humor. You know, we clown each other, you know, but there's a level of appropriateness and timing that's all involved in that. And it's, you know, for everybody. And that's cool. That's cool. But it's also a situation where everybody is on the butt of it too. It's not just only one targeted individual that just so happens is how we like to play lighthearted jokes and clown and all that stuff. We have to look at that as a factor. Is it always the same target? Okay, because, you know, if y'all saying we just, you know, whoop-de-woo, I don't ever see you being lighthearted and jokey and having any little slight remarks and under the cuff insults about this one in front of folks. It's time for us to look at that. It's time for us to see where this brainwashing has come from and how it has affected us as a culture, as a culture, and especially for the African American woman. I see it as clear as day. I see it. I've seen men clown. Let me explain what I mean. Okay. I'm going to give y'all an example of the hypocrisy and the double standards, culture to culture. So let me give you a picture. Okay. So for an example, let's say you have a heavy set African American woman. Let's say she's considered obese. Let's say this African American woman, she does not have like the most flattering body shape. Okay. And let's say you have a Caucasian woman, same thing. She is considered obese. She does not have the most flattering body shape. Now, you know what I find fascinating in these two exact same examples? These are the two exact same examples that I'm explaining. What I've seen play out, this is how I know it's humiliation ritual on the African American woman. This obese, heavy-set African-American woman, okay, heavy-set, obese, does not have the most flattering body shape. An obese Caucasian woman does not have the most flattering body shape. You have two women here. I'm just trying to paint you all a picture, okay? You have two women that are both, and let's just say for fun and shits and giggles, that they're in around the same age range, okay? And that in terms of otherwise other attractiveness like facial features and all that, let's say that they both possibly are in the same range in terms of whether they're kind of cute in the face or whatever, but you have two exact same examples. Do you know that I have seen and witnessed and even have heard where the black woman that's considered obese and heavyset and doesn't have the most flattering body shape clowned, joked, sly remarks, sarcastic remarks, about their body, looking like walking on two, Pockies, sticks or some shit. Like I've heard all kinds of stuff referencing the African American woman in that context. But the same person, the same kind of people would not dare say that. They would not say that about the Caucasian woman. In some cases, they idolize and praise this Caucasian woman. I don't know if it's due to socioeconomic statuses or what. You know what I'm saying? This is definitely something that we need to look at as a culture and even beyond that, as a race of humans. What is the obsession? What is the deep-rooted, in some cases maybe even subconscious obsession? And what is this double standards and hypocrisy? Because if we're trying to say all things in good humor, it should be something you see across the board, and it should also be appropriateness to it, timing across the board. Not a selected individual. Meanwhile, you wouldn't dare say the same shit about someone else. If you feel funny about clowning this person the same way you clowned that person, then that is your answer, especially if you know the people equally so. We're not talking about this is a stranger versus someone you know. But if you feel funny, everybody's in the, relatively same age range. You see what I'm saying? And you feel funny about saying something like this about this person, that's the indication that tells you, okay, there's something deep inside of you that no, is kind of not okay. There's something deep inside of you that no, what you're about to do and say may be hurtful or insulting. Because if not, you wouldn't be afraid, or you wouldn't be cautioning yourself to not say it about that person versus that person. What it is people get comfortable with saying hurtful things about the targeted individual. Whether it is they just don't simply have no respect for them, they feel like they're weak, okay? And the others is they could be scared of the other person. Maybe there's benefits they get from the other person. Well, whatever the case may be. But the whole point that I'm making is, the bottom line is something in you that knows it might be hurtful. Or it might be inappropriate. Several years back, I was making a comment about people that, was trying to clown my appearance. Okay, was trying to clown my body several years back. Okay, I think I made a comment. You'd have to dig in the videos. I made a video, could have done a discussion. But I brought out the point that the hypocrisy and double standards, when, like, if you have a daughter, an aunt, a mother, and you wouldn't dare say, you see what I'm trying to say? You have a daughter, an aunt, a sister, a cousin, a niece, or whoever that you wouldn't, that may not, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't dare, want to insult them or reference certain things because they themselves are overweight, or they don't have the perfect shape, or whatever the case may be. You wouldn't dare say it. That's the indication that you know that what you are saying is insulting and hurtful, even on a joking, because if you wouldn't joke about that to them or to reference them, you already know you off. The hypocrisy is also when you deal with people who was, for all intents and purposes, once upon a time, 300 pounds. And yeah, I said that. Because again, this is the stuff that needs to be talked about. Someone that they themselves was once upon a time 300 pounds. Okay? And they themselves did not have the perfect physical form or shape, and they themselves could have struggled. And once they got in position to get enough Johns to pay them, I'm gonna be good today. At some point down the line, they get assistance to get gastric bypass. They get assistance to get liposuction, tummy tucks, lip tuck, flip. They get assistance to get ass injections, and y'all know the trending shit now. Don't play with me. They get assistance to get titty lifts. They get assistance, whether that be, I'm just going to say it, whether that be they get enough Johns to invest, or they get enough hustles, you know, hustling the government, especially during that COVID block of time there. Okay. Or, like I said, just enough hustles and scams in order to get it done. With the rare few that may legitimately just have the money, legitimately, you know, have that, okay? Because of course there are people out there that they, you know, they're connected to wealth or something like that, okay? So, oh, they being tortured, aren't they? Good. Now back to what I'm saying. It's hypocrisy when those individuals do the same thing too. And that's another, you know, kind of like, you kidding me kind of moment for me. That they forgot that they was on swole, looking like a fullback for the Raiders. Huh? See, the only reason why I talk that way is because, again, what is this obsession with being this way on a targeted individual, but people shaking their boots and wouldn't dare reference or say the same things towards some of these same people who, like I said, either their children, their daughters, their mothers, their aunties, their cousins, whomever. And in some cases, they themselves forgot that they spend most of their lives 300 pounds. And then you suddenly, you see that? Nigga, Negro, please. So I am trying to challenge the world, my culture, you know, because I look at it as all toxic, all humiliation ritual. What I'm trying to beckon us to go deeper and look at, what is this? What is it? What is that? That's where I'm going. What is that? And some of these retarded motherfuckers are coming in here. I said that too, and it's fitting, dear. It's fitting. It is. It's mental illness. See, how we have survived abuse, how we have survived slavery, how, you know, the ways this stuff has been enmeshed to distract. Like I said, the example that I provided, I gave that example to help people. Sometimes it takes something like that, excuse me, to help people to see. It takes a plain example to simplify and to get folks to challenge themselves to ask themselves the question, if they so dare, to ask themselves the question, and why is that true? Because you know what, that's true, what she just said. And why is that true? Why wouldn't I say that about this person versus that person? Why do I glaze over the fact that the Caucasian woman is just as huge and just as misshapen? But when I see a huge or misshapen African-American woman, then I take the opportunity to make jokes about that. Is there some deep-rooted hatred there? Is there some subconscious programming and brainwashing that's been there since the beginning of ages in some cases, that's been there that I'm running off of and I don't know it? Hatred of the African-American woman, and I wonder why. I wonder why. I wonder what the real issue is. Hypocrisy, toxic patriarchy. Because look, it was never, that's why you ain't got no woman. You know, when a guy have an attitude, or when they said something, or when they didn't comply with something, or when they asserted themselves, or whatever, it was never, that's why you ain't got no woman. Tear the hole up. Tear them niggas up till I'm good and plenty. Good and plenty, satisfied. Listen, if you're wondering as you're listening to me, and you may not know me, this is what you need to know. I'm not into body shaming. I'm not into body shaming, nor am I into humiliation rituals. That's more of a karmic thing. The only reason why you ever hear me go into some of the clowning stuff, I am a Hyoka empath. Okay. And it is in a direct correlation to the abusive ones, the stuff that they project out to the targeted individuals. So it's essentially, as a Hyoka empath, it's me, the sacred clown, mirroring their energy. Which some of the stuff on this journey that I have come to find most fascinating is these types of individuals are very frail. They're very frail because they cannot take their own energy. They can't handle their own energy. And what do I mean by that? They can't handle their own abuse, their abusive ways. When it is reflected, when it is mirrored into their energy field, when it is reflected back to them, they collapse. They can't take it. And I discuss these things for the world because these are things that for whoever so feel guided, because it always starts with us. It's time to stop acting like we're the change when we're not. It's time for us to stop talking like we're the change and we're not. It's time for us to stop being overly vested in appearing to be evolved, ascended, changed. It's time for us to stop being overly vested and concerned with looking like we are healthy people in a healthy culture and become healthy people in a healthy culture. It's time for us to stop trying to look like our mind is right and be willing to invest in looking at the fact that there's something there that needs to be dealt with and to go and get it dealt with. It's time for us to stop being overly vested in how something appears and more invested in how something actually is. It's time for us to look at why we're stalkers. It's time for us to get real with ourselves about that and stop trying to show the world that we're these sound and grounded people, but we can't stop stalking people. It's time for us to look at what's wrong with us as a culture, what's wrong with us as a society. And I'm not saying focus on what's wrong in an unhealthy sense. I'm saying pretending that it's not there doesn't mean it ain't there. We need to look at our hypocrisies. We need to look at our double standards. We need to look at our partialities and call it. Ask yourself the question today. If the example that I provided is true for you, ask why. You can do this all by yourself on the toilet. This ain't got to be no big deal. You don't have to have a bullhorn for it. You're hearing it from me because I'm operating as a teacher. But in terms of real time and in real life, this ain't something that has to be announced. It starts with us being willing to look at ourselves or even the cultures that we have been enmeshed in our circle and our ways of operation as family units or friendship. It's time for us to be willing to look at it and look at how it has affected us and how it has shaped us into the type of people we are. And you know, look at those things. Because what seems on the surface to be not a big deal, it is. Is there a healthy balance? Because see, all of those things are factors. One can say, oh, these are just jokes, but do you ever have anything nice to say? Is there some kind of healthy balance here that kind of buffers out your I'm just kidding and I'm just joking? Are you equally honoring that person in public as you are dishonoring them in public? Or are you equally finding or speaking on things that are great that would, you know, compliment the person and uplift the person in a group setting as you are pointing out something If not, it's time for you to check yourself. The hypocrisy is across the board, though. It's not just about the body shaming. I was just using those things as an example. But this could be any and everything. Glass houses, you know what I'm saying? People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. In other words, if you're a whore, and listen, I don't have no shade on spicy workers either. I have issues with people who are dishonorable in how they do shit. Period. I don't have no issue with people chosen life. But you know what I'm saying? If you hoeing, you really shouldn't be speaking on nobody that's hoeing with a negative connotation. See my point? If you're a gold digger, if you're a scammer, if you're whatever it is, if and that's what self-awareness is all about. And even like people that are close to you, you best friends with someone, and yet you ain't saying nothing about none of that. But then you're looking at some random other person and you're highlighting all of this, but you're not even challenging all of that with these people that you call your BFF, these people that's your right hand man, these people that's your sister and your brother, these people you're not. Because see, that's the epitome of narcissism. Narcissism is I can do whatever I want and you better not judge me for it. I can do whatever I want and I can lie about it and have a secret double life and you better not judge me for it. But I will clown a shit ton of people for being players, for being infidels, for being all of those things. That's the epitome of narcissism. That's the epitome of hypocrisy. That is the epitome of double standards. And it's time for us to look at it. If we're really going to keep pushing this agenda that we are on a healing journey and that we're on a journey of evolution and becoming our best selves, and if we're going to continue to push that agenda and push that narrative that we're saved, sanctified, full of the Holy Ghost, on fire for the law, if we're going to continue to push the agenda that we are high priestesses of high priests and spiritualists of valor and virtue and whoop, if we're going to continue to push the agenda, the narrative that we are folks that are grounded in our chakras, bitch, if we're going to continue to push the narrative and the agenda that we are people who are philanthropists and humanitarians, and if we're going to continue to push the agenda and the narrative that that is who we are, then God damn it, become it. Because, honey, it is beyond donating $100,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It is beyond volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club. It is beyond paying tithes and offerings. It is beyond serving at the soup kitchen. It is beyond donating clothes and shoes and canned goods. It is beyond starting a program and getting a grant to create a nonprofit, you know. It's beyond. It don't do no good to have all of those things when on a day-to-day life, an everyday mundane life as we know it, we are violating some of these very same people. We are doing grave injustices. We're clowning them. We're, you know what I'm saying? And how does that play out? Well, it's playing out in our personal life. Because what's in our lives and how we're conducting, it still represents aspects of who we are. It still represents our character. It represents us. It is not separate from the acts of kindness that we're doing so that we can appear to be philanthropists, humanitarians, appearing to be saved and sanctified, or whatever we own this given month. It's time, and I have these discussions for that one somebody that may be out there in the universe that may catch it. Some of these people, like I said, they're stalkers and they're doing baneful shit. They're weird and they're pretending to not be weird. They're sitting up there poking on dolls and twisting shit and chanting shit that they pretend to not do. For nefarious reasons. These are the same people who sit there grinning You're not no damn humanitarian. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put that out there. These people, they ain't no damn humanitarians and philanthropists. They're far from it. A humanitarian or philanthropist in its most truest essence, I guarantee you they ain't sitting here stalking people being weird and poking on dolls behind screens because they're enraged with the fact that they're being seen for what they are. Guarantee it. It's no double life for a legit humanitarian and philanthropist. So they ain't secretly in no cave with weird people doing weird things to innocent lives. For their own gain. Ain't no damn humanitarian my ass, nigga. Your ass is humanitarian my ass, you dusty motherfucker. Humanitarian, sure. Yeah, you are. Sure you are. Whatever you say. Whatever you say. People are overly stuck on this 3D shit. They're overly stuck on the appearances of things without being truly concerned about the legitimacy of things. We want to look like that and get the clout for that, but we don't really want to be that. We like looking like we're honorable without being honorable. So that's why we're making a $100,000 donation to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's easier to do than to change my character and address my real toxic issues in my day-to-day life. I'll just get up and go make a donation and have somebody paparazzi take a picture and be like, oh, this ain't, oh, look at them. Ain't they so nice and smiling and having a conversation with the motherfucker and shit. Crazy ass. Then they go home and they doing something. It's time for our meeting. Let's do some energy harvesting on the disabled. We'll make better use of it. And we'll give it to the disabled societies of America. Weird. And this is why they hate me. But I like it. Because I have every full intention of exposing every son of a bitch that I can. It's time. It's time for us to be about it and stop talking about it. It's time for us to get our little inner childs dealt with. To get it dealt with. I want praise and acclaim. And why is that so, dear? Why do you want it so badly? You want them to look at you and go, ooh and ah, why? How old are you, by the way? But why? Are you ready to journey? For real? Are you ready to finally look at yourself yet? Because see, that's what the real journey is. It ain't on no catchphrases and copying and pasting. Are you ready? To deal with what has you going berserko behind your illusionary world shattering? Why are you trying to hold on to it? What are you afraid of? That's what it's time for us to start doing as a culture. Honey, you done been to church and ain't done nothing for you. Yeah. Oh, you done been in church. You done that, baby. And then what it did is help you put some band-aids on a few things. It helped you to polish up, for all intents and purposes, for the look of things. That's what it did. It helped you to, on a surface level, behave. On a surface level, for all intents and purposes, it helped you to change your little language, and at least before certain people. It helped you to alter your wardrobe. It helped you to maybe not beat motherfuckers' asses the same way you used to, at least as far as they know. It has helped you to get a routine going, to create yourself a nice little profile. But your secret life is what we're really talking about here. Behind the scenes. You did that, girl. And you have it all over your Facebook and all over your Instagram and all over your Twitter and all over your, if Twitter is still in existence, or whatever you got, Bimbo, Humbo, Lemon X and Lemon 8 and whatever the fuck. See, we done done all that. We've mastered. We are not having challenges and difficulties with creating posts. We are not having challenges and difficulties with preaching sermons. We're not having challenges and difficulties with any of these things. That is not where the challenge is. We're not having challenges with going to the altar. We're not having challenges with going to the Reiki Center. We're not having challenges with any of those things. We're having challenges with dealing and transforming. That's the real challenge. We're having challenges on looking at ourselves, dealing with some deeper matters, and applying it to everyday life. We've been convinced that if we say something enough, then it's true. We've been convinced that if we put something on our walls enough, then it's true. If we've been convinced that if we post something enough, that as a byproduct, that is true of us. We have been convinced that if we can go and buy the Dr. Schmuck and the stethoscope and talk like it and research on Google cool things doctors say, and that if we practice that means we're it. We have been convinced that that's what transformation is. Making sure that we include something in every 3 sentences of conversations that we have to solidify that that's what we are. We've been convinced that the more paraphernalia that we can pile on, the more paraphernalia that we can fill our spaces with, the more paraphernalia, then that means that that's us. But let me tell you something. I have seen with my own eyes and have experienced that same thing. People who are full of all of those paraphernalias that I mentioned. It's all over the place. It's in their car. It's in their places of business and work. It's on their social media. It's in their conversations every 3 sentences. And they are cold killers. They are abusers behind the scene of the elderly and the disabled and the ailing. They target vulnerable population for nefarious reasons. They're full of racism and prejudices. They steal from the already impoverished. They lie in a very wrong kind of way. They lie out of selfishness, envy, jealousy, and for their personal gain. And in some cases, they tell a partial truth for nefarious reasons out of hypocrisy for personal gain. Or out of their disdain. They have nefarious deals going behind the scene. So now ask yourself the question. So all of that don't even mean nothing, huh? Right? Exactly. Yes. All of the words on every wall covered with sayings and scriptures. Or whatever. But when it comes to living life, they're sitting on porches and they're sitting on balconies and patios and driveways and all sorts of shits, drinking their, Miller's Light and their Colt 45. Smoking their cigarettes and cigars, and their weed, in some cases, God knows what. talking about disabled people, being mean or cruel to disabled people, talking about anybody, grown, dusty motherfuckers. What? They phony. See, I'm calling this shit out. I know I'm pissing people off. Because they phony with each other. These be the same people, they're phony. They're sitting there smiling and, hey, my nigga, all that shit. And they talk about each other. They talk about each other to other people. They talk about each other. They clown each other. They're telling each other secrets. Messy. Messy. But they got paraphernalia tatted all over their bodies. They're preaching in the highways and byways and hedges. You know, they outreaching and, you know, in some cases. And I'm saying all this because, again, we've mastered performance. We've mastered it already. We don't need any further courses on performances or rituals and routines. We've mastered, you know, the catchphrases. We can do, some of us can do that shit in our sleep. We've mastered that. Now, it's time for us to go ahead and deal with our character, our brain, the brainwashing, the trauma, our personalities. It's time for us to deal with that. It's time for us to address our secret lives and understanding that just because it is a secret life, it doesn't mean that it isn't so. It doesn't mean that it does not need our wholehearted attention in this transforming journey we're on. Humiliation. What is this obsession with trying to humiliate people for no reason? Because you don't like them, or they're different than you, or they're triggering something in you. And then it's time for the world to ask the question, well, if you are on team humiliation ritual, why are you so frail and fragile? If you are okay with that way of being, then why are you so frail and fragile? How come you can't handle it when it's you? Why are you switching up the game when it comes to you are being humiliated now? Your weaknesses are being highlighted now. Your insecurities are being highlighted now. Your frailty is being highlighted now. Your failings and indiscretions are being highlighted now. So why is it that when that happens to you, you can't handle it? You want to call Jesse Jackson or Sharpter. You want to call all the black people, and you know what I'm saying? How come you can't handle it? Now you want to go to law, legal, and bitch, you want to get defamation of character. Well, which one is it going to be? Because trying to lean into defamation of character as it pertains to you, but you have participated in your life defaming someone else's character, is hypocrisy, and that is what we need to look at. Whether this is on a public arena in terms of social media, in person, it really doesn't matter. Because if you are willing to defame character by way of opening your mouth at all, I don't care if it's to the next door neighbor. That is how shit spread. I don't care if it's to your coworker. I don't care if you are okay with defaming of character. Then ask yourself the question, when it is yours that's in the hot seat, how come you can't handle it? It's time for us to look at ourselves and see the ridiculousness that some of us have been operating in. You don't have a problem gossiping and running your mouth. You're doing it every day. But you want to cry and have a bitch fit when your shit get put out there and put on blast status. It's time to get real.